All right, are we live again? All right, let's try this again, guys. Sorry, I've been having a lot of issues with my cameras lately, but welcome to the show. It's the ARCA Racing Podcast hosted by your man, Starting Park Car, Colby Evans here. We have a lot to discuss today, like I was saying before. Talladega, Kern County, and Dover, 3 different ARCA races to talk about. Well, previewing one, talking about 2 of them. We're going to discuss the point standings, championship favorites. What does ARCA have to do to the Super Speedway package? Kern County stole the show, and a lot, like I said, guys, lots to talk about here. I'm going to go through my little intro, go through the beginning of every podcast, just try to get out of the way so we can jump right into the ARCA action. So you guys know the drill. Follow me on social media, Starting Park Car on Twitter, for all ARCA tweets, lower budget team tweets, and all the occasional crap for some reason you guys seem to enjoy. I don't know how I have 5,600 followers, but I thank each and every one of you for supporting me. Like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on that bell for notifications if you like what you see. We're less than 250 away from 2,000. And if you want to support the show, super chats are open. If you'd like to support the show financially, it would all go to my racing fund because I'm trying to run some ARCA races this year. And of course, check out the Racing Experts for all NASCAR media related content, the official media partner of this podcast. Whew, it's a lot to say in a short period of time. So let's get right into the first topic, Talladega. Big, badass Talladega Super Speedway. Gotta say, guys, right out of the gate, I know there was not a lot of positive feedback for that Talladega race. And unfortunately, you guys know me. I try to be as positive. I try to be as, I try to find the positives in everything, even when some people might find the negatives. And I'll be honest with you guys, this was really disappointing. And I mean, extremely disappointing race at Talladega. Arguably, the only upside that I can say about this Talladega race was that nobody crashed a car. And, all these teams can save these cars for other races, or they can use them for Daytona next year. That is literally and legitimately the only upside I can say about this race. Nothing happened. Literally, like nothing happened in this race. It really shocked me. We had 34 cars. 16 less from Daytona. Obviously, some cars were still crashed from Daytona. Some people just did not planning to run Talladega. Many reasons why. We had a smaller entry list than Daytona. But I'm like, Talladega still put on some good races. 2021 with 29 cars was a decent race. 2022, albeit it got cut short due to time constraints, was still an okay race. Even last year, did last year get cut to time constraints too? I'm not sure if it did or not, but even last year was, okay. We had lead changes. We had action. We had 34 cars for this race, and it just felt like there was nobody out there. I don't know. It was weird. I talked about the 2020 race. In my opinion, one of the worst races of all time. It was really out of ARCA's control too, when you really think about it. That was the first race coming back from COVID for ARCA, which at the time, by 2020, 2020 ARCA was not exactly a strong season for car counts and competitiveness, despite the great battle between Brett Holmes and, Michael Self. When you look behind that, the car count depth wasn't very good. And I'll say this race felt very, very similar to that 2020 race. And we had 13 more cars in this race than the one back in 2020, but yet they felt the same. Even despite a 34-car field, it just felt like there was no action. Nothing was happening. It was weird. It really was weird. Now, I didn't watch this race from the comforts of home. That's why you didn't see a lot of live tweets. That's why you didn't see a lot of live tweets and notes from the race. I was at work. I was actually watching the race on my Hulu. I was watching the race on Hulu. And, my boss's rules at work are you can watch the races, but just don't, be blabbering on your phone. You can watch the races, but don't be blabbering on your phone. So I just was allowed to watch the race. And, yeah, man, I tell you, I was just waiting for something to happen. We knew coming into this weekend that Venturini were going to be the cars to beat. And when they had 5 good cars, Venturini, they don't slouch when it comes to plate tracks. They can sometimes slouch at different tracks, with how competitive some of their cars are compared to others. But all 5 cars at the Talladega race were very competitive. And, it was just the nature of who was going to win. I mean, it was openly admitted that race at Daytona was supposed to be won by Jake Finch until Gus Dean pretty much just said, F that. F that and took the win for himself. So you had to think that they were going to come back with more of a strict plan, so to say, like, hey, we're not going to pull that stunt this time. We're going to make sure Jake wins. And, well, that's pretty much what we got. But, yeah, we went over the entry list last week, guys. Like I said, 34 cars, which, in general, I looked at this field. I'm like, this is still a solid field. Of the 34 cars, I mean, of the 34 cars, guys, I thought, we could have a decent pack of about 20, 23 cars. I know we'd have some stragglers. We only had 4 cars in the field running non-Ilmores. It was the 31, the 0, the 06, and the 48 were the only cars in the field running non-Ilmores. So we knew they weren't going to be able to stay in the draft. But that left 30 cars, of Ilmores who didn't have the horsepower disadvantage. Now, I'm sure there were still going to be a couple of stragglers in there, but you would think, again, that we'd still be able to have a big pack of cars. So, again, we'll get to that in a second. But now, of course, the way that ARCA does their Talladega setups, they have what they call a shakedown practice. Not really a real practice. It's just more of get your cars on track for a couple laps, shake the car down, make sure the engine's running well, temperatures are going well, car's handling right. And I like that. I think that's something NASCAR should adopt for their super speedway races like Talladega and Daytona. Instead of just sending the cars right out there for qualifying, I really like the idea of going out there for a couple laps, making sure everything's all right with the car, making sure the driver's happy, and then we go to qualifying. Now, of course, in ARCA, though, they don't do qualifying at Talladega. They set it by last year's owner's points. So, unfortunately, by out of the gate, the Jake Finch was going to be on the pole probably no matter what. Even if we went to, even if we did go to a qualifying format, I'm sure the 20 car would have been competitive in general. But yeah, I think almost all cars took a practice time except the 97 of Jason Kitzmiller, who they were having mechanical issues the entire weekend. And then the 0 of Ben Peterson. Now, Ben Peterson did get on the track, but I don't think the car actually fired. I think they got it out to pit road, and then it just died, and then they had to push it back. But all of the 32 cars did take a time. Some stories in the field that we've been talking about. Brad Smith, they did show up to Talladega. I had been talking about, was Brad going to show up or not? As far as I know, they did not get the Daytona car done. The motor was not built, so they actually had to bring the short track car. I'm not sure if you guys saw any photos of the car, but Brad actually was running his primary short track intermediate car named JT. That was the car that passed, that was in the crash with Hilton. So kind of symbolic that car would run Talladega again. But yeah, Brad actually had to run a short track car that was in no way prepared for a play race. That's why if you go and look at the practice sheets and look at Brad's lap time in the race, that's why he was really, really far off, even compared to the Peterson cars. It's just the car was not set up at all to run Dega. He's got a specific plate car to run Dega that could have went a little faster. Other stories, we had both Peterson cars, obviously with the Chevy getting torn up at Daytona. They couldn't bring the Chevy to Talladega. It's not done yet. So they had to bring another short track car. They had to bring the purple car, Peterson's purple car, for Ben to drive. So it's kind of funny. We had a couple of short track cars running Talladega. Again, that's why I love this series. But, yeah, so those were some fun stories. But, yeah, like I said, just a very strong field, I felt like. I really felt like coming into the race, man, that we were in for an interesting race. Daytona, I didn't think Daytona was all that bad. I know the lap 3 crash kind of affected the race, took out a lot of good cars, but I didn't think it really killed the race as bad as some people thought it did. Definitely was a step down from 2023, but I still didn't think the Daytona race was all that bad. I just don't know what happened here. So we get to the race, the race starts, and it's just like right out of the gate, the outside line just doesn't go. So right out of the gate, it feels like we're already down to one groove. And the first 5 to 10 rows just immediately collapse. And by the end of lap 1, we're pretty much all single file except for the mid-pack. I think arguably the most entertaining part of the first 5 laps was watching Cody Dennison in the 0-1 Frog car. He was in his very first big track race, the first time he'd ever been on Talladega. Okay, first time he'd ever been on Talladega, and he's 3 wide. okay, in the middle. That was actually the most entertaining part of the race, watching him. I'm like, please don't wreck it. Please don't wreck it. And thankfully he didn't. But it's like, that was literally the most entertaining part of the first 5 laps. And then, so then we're clicking laps. And we're clicking laps. And the way with this ARCA Super Speedway package is, you know, when they can get enough cars in a single file line, they will start to really pull away from the cars that are still side by side. And that's what we saw early. Jake Finch, Christian Rose, a lot of the other Venturini cars, they're able to make their way. Not Amber Balkan. She had trouble catching the leaders because she had to start mid-pack. But like, and then you had the 18 in there. You know, a lot of those guys, they were just hauling ass away from the pack. Well, when you only got a pack of 6 or 7 cars and it continued to die off as the run went, nothing is really going to happen. And unfortunately, that's what we literally saw in the first run for the 38 laps. Literally nothing happened. It was literally just follow Jake around lap after lap after lap after lap. Literally nothing happened. You saw a couple of moves in the mid-pack when, you know, the camera would go back to show the mid-pack. You know, I mean, like I said, you saw people trying to make moves back there for position, but it's just like nobody almost wanted to race. I don't know if you got those vibes, but it just didn't feel like there was no urgency. Like, this ain't practice. We're racing. And it just felt like almost it was like a practice session. You know, and then they were catching the lap cars. I mean, I tell you, they were really catching the lap cars fast. You know, I mean, like I said, Brad was out there running. Keep in mind, Brad's not holding anything back. He's, you know, he was only going 159. That's how fast he can go. So they were catching Brad very quickly, almost uncomfortably quickly, which again makes me wonder why ARCA has that stupid horsepower penalty. I mean, you wonder why the closing rate's so bad. It's because you cause it. You know, same with the 31, same with the 48 and the 2 Peterson cars. We did have the kind of the early action early was the 0 of Ben Peterson. He pulled off after 7 laps. Apparently that was a planned start and park. And then not 1 lap later, the 97 of Jason Kitzmiller, who, like I said, they didn't make it out for practice. They barely made it out in time to start the race. You could physically see all the water coming out of the radiator in the left front. Now, that was actually kind of cool visual. I've never seen that before. But you could literally see all the water at once come out of his car. And it's like, yep, he's done. He ain't going to make it another lap. So, you know, that took out a good car because Jason Kitzmiller, I mentioned on last week's podcast, Jason Kitzmiller was a sleeper pick to win the race, in my opinion, with how good he is on plate tracks. So he was gone. Jeff Scottfield, who was involved in a lap 3 crash, they repaired the car. They unfortunately had a little bolt or something go through the radiator. That ended their day. So we were down to 31 cars, which you still think. Sorry, guys. Which you'd still think 31 cars, still a sizable field size to be competitive. And it's just, I don't know, man. I really don't know what to say. I mean, I wasn't there. I was just watching on TV like all of you guys. Nothing was happening. Like, and for the life of me, it's just like you could hear the commentators that were trying to come up with topics to talk about. I mean, it was great seeing Mamba Smith out there in his pit road debut. I thought that was great. You know, I think Mamba's one of the coolest cats in the garage. I wish he could get more driving opportunities. The guy's clearly got some talent, but that was like the highlight of the first part of the race was seeing Mamba doing pit duty. I wish he got to do more of it. It's like we saw him on camera like 5 times. But yeah, just nothing happened. Nobody tried to really make a move for Jake for the lead. And then, of course, with Talladega, the rule is, of course, modified live pit stops. Everybody keeps their position. So everyone's like, okay. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, we're going to ride this thing out to the first stage. A lot of the competitive cars who had to start at the rear have pushed their way up to the front, and we're going to get, a better second half. Well, by the time we already got to the second half, I think we had 16, 17 cars on the lead lap, something like that, maybe even only 18. So already about half the field was almost a lap down. So we get back going green again in the second stage. They took 9 laps under caution, so the final run was only going to be 29 laps for once. So that was kind of weird. And again, it's like the same exact thing happened on the restart. one lane doesn't go, and then the bottom lane just rocket ships out there. And within like 5 laps of the restart, we already have like an 8-car breakaway up front, and then we have everybody else jockeying for position behind them. And by the time they can get into a single file pack, they're like 9 seconds behind them. You had literally like the top, I think it was, you literally had like the top 8 pull away. Then you had throughout that run, Amber Balkan fell off, Tony Breidinger fell off, Frankie Muniz fell off. And by the end of that run, we literally only had 5 cars. Christian Rose, Gus Dean, Tanner Gray, Chris Wright, and Jake Finch. And it's like, we don't have enough cars to really make anything happen. With the way that this ARCA drafting package works, you really need a hefty amount of cars to make anything happen. And Christian Rose, I mean, poor guy, he's out there by himself in a field of Toyotas. Nobody is going to help him. I applaud him for trying to make a move, but nobody was going to help him. No, the Toyotas aren't going to help the one Ford. And Tanner Gray, there was nothing he could have done either. He was out there all by himself. When you had 3 Venturini cars, nobody was going to beat them. So we're just clicking laps. And then, unfortunately for Andy Jankowiak, he was actually in that group. I think they said it was something with the fuel pump. I thought he blew a motor, but it turns out I guess it was something with his fuel pump issue or something like that. So he fell out of the pack. He actually pulled off on the back stretch, so we did not get a yellow. And like I said, we just continued to rack laps. And then, the white flag came, and I give props. It looked like Chris Wright in second place was maybe trying to make a run. But at the same time, you could also make the argument that he was just trying to back up the field so the 20 would win. I don't know. It was weird. To me, it just didn't make any sense. And then you could see the 32 of Christian Rose. He goes to make a move. Obviously, nobody goes with him. And we just come back around and Jake Finch wins. It's great to get your first win at Talladega, but to do it in the most anticlimactic way possible, what'd you really win? I guess if I won the race, maybe I wouldn't have that mindset, but at the end of the day, you just got to be honest with yourself. And that was no good. No, I got nothing against team orders. It happens. It's in the sport. We see it in Formula One. We've seen it in IndyCar. We've seen it in NASCAR before. There's nothing wrong with team orders. Do we like them? No, but we just got to accept that that's part of the sport. I get it. Even Chris Wright admitted it in his post-race interview that, we wanted to keep the win for the Venturini family. So you could tell Chris was not going to make a move. But I literally, in my opinion, guys, I give the race a 1 out of 10. And the reason why I give it a 1 is because it happened. This race had no redeeming qualities for me. I'm glad we didn't tear up any cars. I'm really glad we did not. I don't like seeing ARCA teams tear up cars. But I'm serious, guys. Really, really bad. This was not good. And I try to be honest with you guys on this channel. When it's good, it's good. And when it's bad, I'm not afraid to call it out when it's bad. Charlie Kroll, I love him. I love Charlie Kroll. And he kind of, you could kind of see, kind of agreed with what people were saying. And he said the same thing. I call it a good day when no cars get torn up. Yes, 100% agree with that. Nobody got their crap torn up. Everyone can reuse their car. But when there's nothing redeeming for the racing product, that's not good. That's not good. Now, I don't know what they can change it. I'm not a mechanical expert. I don't know these bodies, these composite bodies. I don't really know what we can change. So I'm not really going to offer that opinion because I'm not experienced enough in that field. So, but yeah, just no really good stuff to talk about. I guess you could say it was great seeing Frankie Muniz back. He got a top 10. Greg Van Alst finished 11th. Anyunzita finished 12th. Scott Melton 14th. Kimmel's finally finished a plate race. I'm happy to see that. Eric Hutto got 15th. Tim Richmond got 16th. Cody Dennison got a top 20. So I guess you could say some good stories in the top 20. That's some good ways to think about it. Some action, though, in terms of from the competitive cars. Fuel pressure, like I said, for Andy Jankowiak, lendered him down to 27th. And LeVar Scott. LeVar Scott was another story. He unfortunately lost 8 laps on pit road, I believe, trying to get his car going as well with a fuel pressure issue, which relegated him down to 31st. Dale Shear was 27th, but a couple laps to go, came down pit road, appeared with an engine issue. Did not complete the race, but they still have him listed as running anyway. That's really it. I mean, that's the best really way I can put it to you guys. So like I said, I hate, sometimes we have to talk about it, but at the same time, you just got to be honest. I did not think it was good. And I really do compare it to 2020, and that race had 13 less cars. And I'm serious. If you watch those final 10 laps, you would not think that there's 30 cars on that track. It literally felt like there was 10 cars on the track with the way that the camera shots were and the way the field looked. But there were 30 cars on that track, but you wouldn't think there was. That's the problem. Now, again, at the end of the day, could it just be that guys like the 18 team, Venturini, and the 32, and a lot of those other top teams just have better super speedway packages than everyone else? Yeah, probably. But at the end of the day, I don't know, man. We don't see that stuff at Daytona, and if we do, it's not all that bad. But I feel like we've really seen a lot less at Talladega. The main question is, should ARCA go away from Talladega? The answer, in my opinion, is no. Talladega at ARCA, I like the idea of ARCA at Talladega. I like the idea of ARCA having those 2 big plate races to compete with NASCAR. I feel like that's what makes ARCA different from a lot of short track series. They still go to these big tracks, but I do feel like there is something ARCA can maybe do with the package to make it a little bit better. I'm not saying like a wholesale change, but there's got to be some minor changes that we can make to make it better. Definitely to make it better. But, some days you hate to be honest, but you also have to be honest at the same time. When it's no good, it's no good. And like I said, I give this a 1 out of 10. Congratulations to Jake Finch, though, nonetheless. Still cool to see him get a win. And for James Finch, like I said, them getting a win. What was it? Let's see here. This weekend would have been 15 years. Wow, it's been 15 years since 2009 was 15 years ago. I feel old. And I'm 22. And I feel old. 2009 was 15 years ago. I mean, I can remember just yesterday, I was sitting on the couch cheering my ass off that Brad Keselowski flipped Carl Edwards and won that race. I still have that race on DVD. I love that race. 2009, Aaron's 499. One of the greatest NASCAR races at Talladega in history. And yeah, that was won by James Finch with Brad Keselowski. And here they are 15 years later, and they won again with his son, Jake. So I guess that's a cool father-son moment, and we can't complain about that. Family and racing, I love it. Those are aspects of the sport I really do like. So I guess that's something I can't complain about there. But, yeah, like I said, no good. Now, we will discuss the points. We'll discuss the points when we talk about Dover in a couple seconds. But, yeah, final thoughts about Talladega. Keep racing at Dega. Make some minor tweaks. And drivers race. Just felt like everyone was also afraid to race at the same time. Let's start racing here, folks, Let's start racing. There's trophy on the line. There's money on the line. Not a lot of money, but there is money on the line. So let's definitely make Talladega. Let's say this. 2025 Talladega cannot be any worse. Cannot be any worse than this. So we can only go forward. We'll look at it like that. We can only go forward for next year's ARCA Talladega race. Woohoo! Well, yeah. See, I try to find the positive in everything, guys. I really try. But yeah, so that was Talladega. Yeah, not much else to say about it. But so we're gonna transition in here, and hard to believe this: the ARCA race at Talladega was no good, and the ARCA West race at Kern County, shocker, once again, the ARCA West Series steals the show. An amazing race at Kern County. I love this track. Perfect transition, by the way, into ARCA West at Kern County. I love this track. Kevin Harvick's Kern County Raceway. I know it would be a long haul, but this would be such a good track for a standalone truck race. You guys have no idea. For the people who did watch this race at Kern County, it is a beautiful track. And it would be such a good race on the Truck Series schedule, even on the Xfinity schedule. Keep the Cup cars away from it. But Xfinity and Truck would shine at Kern County with the multiple grooves, how fast it is for a short track. It is a beautiful little place. I love it. And the ARCA West Series, you know, we had a great. Why keep the Cup cars away? Because the short track package sucks. That's why. You know, the track is just great. The ARCA West Series, we talked about. Yeah, I agree. Kern is almost a throwback to Mansfield, just a little bit bigger. That's a good point. You know, and we talked about the West Series fields. Would they be any better? And well, for our first standalone West Series race of 2024, man, we had 24 cars on the initial entry list. That was an 8-car bump up from last year. So already we were off to a good start. Now, we did have some developing storylines, of which I didn't find out about literally until right after I finished up my podcast. They had an open practice session the night before the race. Of the 24 cars, all 23 actually competed in it. Again, sorry, guys, excuse me. 23 competed in it, and won the 61 of Hattori Racing Enterprises and Sean Hingorani. However, Sean Hingorani was still driving another car. He was driving the number 24, driven by Joe Ferry. Or Ferre, I think. I don't know. I still don't know how his name is pronounced, but he was driving that car. Now, from what I've been told by some people on my phone, unfortunately, it looks like this might be the end for Shigi. He's been selling off some stuff. As far as I know, from what people are telling me, it's not a case of where Sean Hingorani and them had a falling out. It might be a case of where Shigi might be done. I don't know. I've heard some conflicting reports, but what it sounds like is Shigi Hattori Racing might be just done. And maybe even Sean's money just can't keep them in business. And I didn't think, you know, for a team to go from full-time truck racing to part-time ARCA racing, you know, you just didn't think, man, with today's operating costs, I didn't think they were going to be able to stay in business much longer. Now, again, until we see a 100% confirmation, take that with a grain of salt. But that is what I've been told by some friends who I trust, very trustable sources, I will say. So I had no real conflict, which was kind of funny seeing the 61 of Sean Hingorani driving the 24 with a Toyota logo on a Chevy. That was funny. But yeah, unfortunately, so the 61 withdrew, leaving us down to 23. Still a solid field nonetheless. And boy, you know, you talk about the difference with the West Series field compared to the main series field. This is why I say that the West Series field is the most competitive. In ARCA, you'll have about the top 10, top 5, sometimes separated by a second. In ARCA West, this practice session, we literally had the top 20 separated by 1.3 seconds. That is a very close field, and I like that about the ARCA West Series. You don't see that very often. Now, all 23 cars did take a lap. We had 2 Bobby Hillis entries. The less than zero entry was back, so that was cool to see. So we come to qualifying. Now, this is where some action did happen reportedly during qualifying. 2 of the KKM entries, Robbie Keanly, which unfortunately for him sucked because he practiced very well. Top 5, I think he was in the practice charts. He unfortunately had a mechanical issue on his qualifying run. And Danica Dart, still not 100% clear what happened to Danica Dart. All we know is that she did not start the race, maybe another mechanical issue. But, man, tough start to the season for the Keanly team, man. It's tough start to the season for Danica Dart. She's made 2 starts and literally hasn't made any laps in the races, and they really haven't been her fault. So but I believe it was 2 engine issues for Keanly and Dart, which sucked. I mean, again, that's 2 bodies out there that they weren't going to win, but they were going to run mid-pack, just keep bodies out there on the track for the race to get better. So that unfortunately took us down to 21. 21 entries for the race. So in true ARCA fashion, we had 24 and end up racing 21. And so the race starts and complete chaos right out of the gate. Not 2 laps in, Johnny Boorman decides to drive right over the nose of Takuma Koga. And I mean literally right over the nose. So Takuma's hood goes flying up. Johnny Boorman's got damage. And then the 21 of Henry Barton looks like he was a starting park. So we literally had like 15 things going on at once. Also, the zero did start the race. It's listed as a did not start, but the zero did run the pace laps and did take the green flag. He just pulled off immediately. So like I said, literally like 4 laps into the race, we were already like down 4 cars. It's like, of course, that's how it always has to go. But yeah, unfortunate for Koga, pretty much ruined his race because of the aerodynamics were all screwed up. So we get back going after that. And Tyler Reif, man, he is just a class of the field. He won the pole. And like, man, can the CCM racing team or CCM or Central Coast Cabinets race CCR team get a win? This would have been the first win. And get this. I know it's just kind of hard to believe. Todd Souza, for as long as his team has been in the West Series, this would have been the first win for that organization in 16 years. They won the 2008 event at the Utah Motorsports Campus, or Tuleel. It's a road course in Utah. It's a fun road course. I wish the series would go back there. It's been 16 years. 16 years since they raced there. And they were the class of the field for the first half at least. There was no stopping him. Takuma got back out there, like I said, all with the damage, and was quickly able to pass some other cars. Cody Camille, he crashed again too. Not really sure what happened. They didn't, as far as I know, we didn't get a yellow. He just kind of pulled off track, so I'm not really sure what happened to him there. And like I said, there was really, really nothing going on behind the 13. You had some close racing with the 50. It was clear that the 50, the 5, and the 24 and the 16, those were the main contenders behind the 13 as the race went on. And other cars like the 71, the 33, the 3, and the 41 were kind of your lower mid-pack cars, but you could tell also had some speed when needed, if that makes sense. So we were just kind of racing around. The 5 of Cole Raz, you could clearly tell. That's right. Garrett Zacharias was supposed to drive the 77. Cody was a last-minute replacement. Forgot about that. But you could clearly tell that the 5 of Cole Raz, he had a faster car. He just couldn't get around him. Because Cole Raz, he was really closing in as the run would go on. It was clear that the longer the race went on, the better the 5 got, and the 13 was starting to lose some magic. And I like that about the I really liked that about the race. We did have a yellow for cause on lap 60, the 88 of John Moore running for the Naki team. He went around. Todd Souza got the free pass there. We got back going during the quick 10-lap break until the halfway break. Again, Tyler Reif wins that 10-lap race easily to lead the race at the halfway break. But it's clear, if the 5 and the 50 can stay with him, they have a shot at it. So can Jack Woods, so can Sean Hingorani. And it didn't take long after the restart for them to really start showing their magic. When we got the restart, Cole Raz was all over him. Even getting beside him. He actually led 2 laps. Cole Raz was able to get by him, but the thing about Kern is, and I love this about Kern, you can run 2 lines. You can run the bottom, and you can run what's considered there the top line. So the 13 of Reif was able to keep him pinned down, and the 5, you could tell he used up his stuff. He used up his fresh tires too quick, too early, and I think he either backed off or he just realized, I'm not going to be able to get this done, and he took a break. And it was actually the 50, kind of came out of nowhere. He passed the 5, and we went up there, and he passed the 13. We had our first lead change, really where he took the lead away on lap 107. Trevor Huddleston took the lead, and he pulled away to a decent margin. And then it's like, man, the magic in the 13 car started to go away more and more because then the 5 car got past him. Now, they were so far ahead of 4th place, I didn't think the 13 was going to fall any farther. But then as the race got on, once again, here comes the 5 car. Here it comes. It's closing. It's getting better, and it's getting better. Now, the 50 car was just as good. But it's like, man, that 5 car was really, really set up for a long run. And it just got faster and faster and faster to the point where it was literally shoving the 50 into the corner every single lap. But the 50 was running the right line, so, he couldn't get around him. And then lap after lap, you knew the 5 was faster. And I think Cole knew it. And keep in mind, Cole's part-time. Trevor Huddleston's full-time. Cole, he knows these opportunities don't come a lot. So you got to take advantage of them when you get them. And so what do we do in true short track fashion? With a couple laps to go, literally Cole Raz says, all right, I'm better than you. I'm going to pass you. Moves the 50 out of the way, takes the lead, and Cole Raz wins. A very, very unhappy Trevor Huddleston after the race. You could clearly tell he was not happy. Ran the 5 up. I didn't run him into the wall, but he definitely ran into him, just kind of showing his displeasure. But that's just a classic short track racing move. You really can't get mad at that. And even Trevor Huddleston, he admitted, like, I'm mad about it, but it was a good show for the fans. And that's good sportsmanship. Sorry, guys. Sorry about the burping tonight. I don't know why it's getting so bad. But yeah, so Cole Raz wins. Trevor Huddleston was second. Tyler Reif was third. Now, Jack Wood was running top 5. This is actually still a mystery to me. Jack Wood was running top 5 at the end of that race, and mysteriously, with about 4 or 5 laps to go, went to pit road, and for what I can tell, did not come back out. So he dropped from a top 5 finish down to 12th, and that is not good for the championship battle for him. So Sean Hingaran ended up 4th. Nick Jonides, or Jonidas, I should say, he finished 5th, so a great run for him. Eric Nascimento was 6th. Kyle Keller was 7th. PJ Pedroncelli was 8th. Talladega Souza was 9th. And Eric Johnson Jr. was 10th. 17 of the 18 cars finished. Unfortunately, Mason Mitchell was another DNF. This was one of his 2 starts this year for the Joe Ferree team. He fell out after 60 laps with an engine issue, which really sucks because he was looking forward to his return. Bobby Hillis and David Smith, the stragglers, they were battling for the last couple laps. That was kind of fun. David Smith was able to finish ahead of him. Takuma was able to recover to 15th, and John Moore was only able to recover to 13th. But yeah, I give the race a solid 8. I give the race a solid 8. This was a very, very fun race. This was a very, very fun race. The only reason why I don't give it a 10 is because the 13 kind of dominated the first half. So it was a little boring there, but, it's still enjoyable. But a solid 8 out of 10. This was a very, very enjoyable race. Very fun. Classic short track racing at a high rate of speed. Yeah, just your good old West Series. I love the West Series. I cannot say enough how great the West Series is. And then they posted that finish online. And of course, what's everybody doing online? They're calling it the real ARCA race. And I can't say I blame them. I really can't. It was good. It was fun. And it's just this series continues to deliver, man. The ARCA West Series continues to deliver, and I don't see how it's going to get worse. With the car counts up this year, it can only get better. It really can. So, yeah, it was so good. So good. We'll check the point standings following this ARCA West race. Hopefully they've been updated. Racing Reference hasn't been the best at it. Are they updated? And they are not. All right, so they're not updated. We're going to have to do our own math here, folks. So bear with me. We're going to have to do our own math because racingreference.info. Unless I can find it on the news broadcast, unless I can find it in an article. Hang on, guys. I thought they would have it updated. Let's see here. Race recap. Hang on, guys. Just bear with me. I'm trying to find the point standings for you because I want to talk about it. Nope, we're just going to have to do it this old school. All right, guys. So what we're going to have to do is I have the point standings pulled up from Phoenix. And we're just going to have to add numbers. So right now, as far as I can tell, your points leader right now is Sean Hingorani. He is your points leader right now. Let's see. So he had 39 points from Phoenix. He finished 4th, which got him 44. 39 plus 44 is 83. So Sean Hingorani leads the points right now with 83. Second place would be, second place would be Tyler Reif, who has, let's see here, 33 plus 44. Oh, wait, no, Sean Hingorani has only 40. That's right. There's 79. Sean Hingorani has 79. Tyler Reif has 44 plus 33. So he's got 77. So that's your top 2 right now in points. I'm doing the math right now, guys. So we have Sean Hingorani leading the points. Tyler Reif is second there, just separated by 2 points right now. If I had to guess, add in Jack Wood. That is your in my personal opinion, right now, that is your championship battle. Jack Wood, Sean Hingorani. If he's full-time, we're still not 100% sure if Sean Hingorani is full-time West. But if he is, I would throw him in the title battle. And then Tyler Reif. Those are your 3 championship contenders, in my personal opinion. Someone's told me to go to the 3rd turn. Hopefully the point standings are there. My computer's been a little slow, so bear with me here in a second. Let's see here. I'm not sure if I'll be able to find it. ARCA Menard Series West. Apologize for doing this on live, guys. Let's see if I can find it right now. I can't find the points right now, but either way, guys, point is your championship battle right now is more than likely going to be between Jack Wood, Sean Hingorani, and Tyler Reif. A couple of sleepers, though, I could say, for the championship. Maybe Eric Johnson Jr., but so far the first couple of races haven't looked promising. And, Trevor Huddleston. Throw in Trevor Huddleston, too. His performance at Kern, I think maybe they finally get the championship, too. So, like I said, wide open West Series championship right now. And hopefully, once we get a couple of more races in to their season, to the ARCA West season in 2024, we'll really, really get a real look at what the championship season looks like. 12 races again on tap this season for the West Series. For the next one, we're going to have a decent break until the next West Series race. Portland, Oregon, big road course up there. That'll be May 31st. So like I said, a decent break for the West Series teams. Definitely plenty of time. And then it's Sonoma the week after. And then we got the 2 Irwindale races, Shasta, Tri-City, Madera, Roseville, Bakersfield, the other Kern race, and the other finale in Phoenix. So, like I said, definitely we're going to be taking a break from the West Series for a while. But, hey, can't wait to cover that series again in a couple of months. So that was the West Series from Kern. Again, 8 out of 10 race. Lots of fun. And I look forward to many more fun West Series races in 2024. Woo! We still got one thing more to cover. So that was your past weekend of racing. ARCA at Talladega, ARCA at Kern County, great. So now we transition to this weekend's activities. This weekend's activities are at the Dover Motor Speedway, the Monster Mile, one of my favorite tracks on the circuit. And we have a change this year. Normally, this race is a East Series standalone event. And for the life of me, thank God, this is a combo race. It was getting so sad, guys, seeing just the East Series go to Dover, seeing their series only get like 15 cars and only like 10 would be full race. It was rough, man. It really was. Because those ARCA cars at Dover, man, they would fly around Dover. The way that those ARCA cars are set up, because their rules packages are a little bit more lenient, it's so loose, and it creates a really, really fun form of racing. And we saw it last year, even for the few competitive cars we had. They were trading positions. They were trading the lead. It was fun. But I just wish we had more cars. It was literally the Venturini Toyotas and the 18. That was it. And then I think you had like Zachary Tinkle, who was the only other competitive car out there. But it was still fun. Like you had Tony Breidinger. She was passing the 18 car last year. I mean, it was definitely one of the few races last year where the 18 car was not the class of the field. William Sawalich was not the class of the field last year. Jake Finch won last year. He's not even in the race this year. So we go from, mid-pack, 15, 16 car fields. We have a finally solid 26 car field. I'm so glad about that. We're going to go over the entry list right now. So bear with me. We're going to read it off. We have the 2 of Andres Perez de Lara. We got the 6 of LeVar Scott. The 10 of Ed Pompa. Good to see Ed back again. 11 of Zachary Tinkle. Of course, he's full-time East. He's one of the East drivers. Mike Basham is back in the 12, and I'm glad to report that is a full race deal. So great to see Mike Basham running again. Chris Wright, of course, in the 15. Marco Andretti, he returns to ARCA in the 17. Of course, William Sawalich and Gio Ruggiero, the full-time East drivers. Amber Balkan in the 22. Tony Breidinger in the 25. Connor Zilich, again, one of the full-time East drivers in the 28 for the Pinnacle team. Rita Goulet in the 31, another one of the full-time East drivers. Christian Rose, Greg Van Alst, D.L. Wilson, another full-time East driver. Tanner Reif in the 42, the brother of Tyler Reif. One of the rare appearances that you'll see the 42 outside of Daytona. Good old Brad Smith in the 48, Brent Cruz in the 55, Andy J. and the Jankoliak in the 73. And here's a really oddball entry, the 82, which is basically their number flipped backwards. A second entry out of the Pinnacle Racing Group for Carson Kvapko. Now, I think the reason why they're doing this, and I think this is very smart, the Xfinity Series only has a stupid 20-minute practice session. So what's the best move for Carson Kvapko? Have him run the ARCA race in a very similar car to the Xfinity car. Similar in horsepower and similar in the way they drive, especially at a track like Dover. Have him run that race. That's an extra 150 laps of practice that he can carry over, to the Xfinity car. Very, very smart move by the Pinnacle Racing Group. I love that move. That's the only reason why I can think they did this. Because 20 minutes of practice ain't no way enough for Carson to really, really learn Dover. It's a very complex track. But giving him all that time in the ARCA car, because ARCA's got a very nice 50-minute practice session, a nice qualifying session. They still do it real. But yeah, so that's the only reason why I can think they run in the 82. And then, of course, we got the 93 of Caleb Costner, the 98 of Dale Shear, again, one of the East entries. Michael Maples, who's running both full-time East and full-time Main. Alex Clubb, and the 06 of Cody Dennison. Now, 26 cars here. Starting parks. I don't think there's really any planned starting parks in the field, but we have definitely seen that the closing rate with some of the slower cars here has been a problem. Cars, I'm not sure if Dale Shear will make it the whole race. I'm not sure if Brad Smith or Rita Goulet. I'm not sure if those three will make it the whole race. I think the 06 will be okay. They have a good SB2 in there to be somewhat competitive. Alex, he'll have his Ilmore, so I think he'll be fine. Or he might not have an Ilmore. He might have a K&N motor. The Yates motor. Everyone else should be able to keep up just fine. But I think the 31, the 48, and the 98 will probably... I don't think they will make it the whole... I don't think they will make it the entire... They'll make it the entire distance. Now, I do believe Yeah, Cody Dennison, he is running a former Gibbs car. He's actually debuting a new car for his own stable. It is a Gibbs car. It is a Gibbs chassis, I should say. It is a Gibbs chassis with an SB2 motor. So that's kind of cool for Cody. Hopefully that lends a little bit better performance for him. But yeah, I'm really skeptical about this race, man. There's not really many notes to go on. Considering we've only had plain East races here in the past. But I'm excited, man. You know, like I said, these cars fly around Dover. People tell me it's Peterson. As far as I know, Cody said it was his car. That's the car he's bringing to Peterson, or Peterson's looking after it, I should say. Yeah, we've only had 15, 16, 17 car fields, even going back to the K&N days. I mean, even when you look back at the K&N fields, you go back to the K&N fields, we were only getting like 16, 17 cars. This is definitely an upgrade. Definitely an upgrade in terms of car counts. Looking at the point standings right now, finally can talk about the point standings coming out of Talladega. So we'll discuss the main division first, and then we'll talk about East. Hopefully they have the main division point standings updated. I don't think they do. Nope, they don't. Great. All right. Well, crap. Well, as far as I know, Christian Rose probably has the points lead. He was 5 points behind Greg Van Alst, but he finished more than 5 points ahead of him. Man, I wish Racing Reference was better than this, man. Come on. How long does it take to update the points? But Christian Rose, I think, is leading the points right now. Greg Van Alst is probably second. Andres probably third. Well, let's see here. Looking at the other points. I think that's your top three right now. Again, it's just so hard to tell because Racing Reference can't update crap. Man, they've really fallen off in the last couple of years. Yeah, like I said, Christian Rose is... So he's your points leader, just to tell you that. Christian Rose, Greg Van Alst are the top two in points right now. Chris Wright, he is still pretty far down in the points despite finishing second at Talladega due to his really poor finish at Daytona. I would almost wonder if Chris Wright can even recover from that. That was a very big hole he dug for himself in that first race. Tony Breidinger, I think she's probably like fourth or fifth. Same with Amber. Again, if Racing Reference could update the points, I could tell you where they stand. But unfortunately, I can't right now. Hopefully, we'll be able to do it for next week's show. As for the East points, which we know are updated because, well, they've only ran one race. The East Series points coming into this race. We have Gio Ruggiero, who won at Pensacola. He currently holds a 2-point lead over William Sawalich. Now, the next driver in line is Connor Zilisch. He is -7. So definitely for this race, with it being a combo race, this is the opportunity race for Connor Zilisch to gain some points back. The other full-timer in West, Zachary Tinkle, the next one, he is down in 8th. Expect him to, he'll probably get a top 15 maybe. Even with the SB2, he can still be pretty competitive. The other one's Cody Dennison, D.L. Wilson, full-time West, is down in 9th. Cody Dennison is 10th. Michael Maples is 12th. Rita Goulet is 13th, and I believe that rounds out the East Series full-timers. Like I said, I still think it's going to be a hell of a championship battle between Gio and William, and even throwing Connor Zilisch in there too. I would say it's still wide open between those three. Looking at the entry blank here, for some main reason, and I've said this every year now, Dover is one of the very rare decently paying ARCA races. It actually pays somewhat decent. It's weird. It really is weird. I can't explain it to you. The race actually pays more or close to what Daytona pays. So the racing purse breakdown, first place is $12,500 with bonuses. It is $20,800. Second place is $10,325, and third place is $8,550, which for an ARCA race at a non-plate track is really good. Like for instance, at a random ARCA race, $10,000 or $5,000 would not be paid to 10th place. So that's pretty good. 26th place pays $1,500, which is your standard ARCA. But once you start to get into the teens, that's when actually some decent money starts to come in. So there's definitely going to be an incentive to run the entire race for a lot of these organizations. The race, of course, is on Friday. On FS2, it will be live at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central Time. Like I said, guys, I would definitely tune into this race. One-day show. For the people who are going to Dover, I would highly recommend it. To any race fan. Dover is a fun track. I wish it still had its 2 dates, but due to the crowd sizes, I can understand why they shrunk it down to 1. The crowds have definitely improved for Dover ever since they've done that. And the scoring pylon is still up at Dover, so that gets 2 thumbs up as well. But it should be a fun race. My pick for the race, I am not picking, surprisingly, I am not picking either of the 2 top Toyotas. I am not picking Gio, and I am not picking William. I'm actually going with Carson Kvapil to win this race. I'm going with Carson Kvapil. Pinnacle is right up there, man. They have a lot of support from Chevy, and I mean a lot of support from Chevy. With how big Connor Zilisch is supported, they have a lot of support in that 28 car. They'll have just as much support in that 82 car. But I'm going with Carson Kvapil to win that race. My underdog pick. Now, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. Oops, hit the microphone. Now, it's kind of weird saying that he's an underdog, but he's in a Venturini car. But my underdog pick, I'm going with Brent Cruz. I'm going with Brent Cruz as my underdog pick. It's weird picking him as an underdog, but he hasn't ran that many ARCA races, even though he's in a Venturini car. And he just won his first Cars Tour event, I think, last weekend. But he's my underdog pick for me. I hope we do see some good speed out of the Rev cars. We've definitely seen some races where the Rev cars struggle. So I hope this is not one of them. Andres, I think this is his first time at Dover. LeVar Scott, he did run last year. So he actually does have some experience in the field, and we'll see if that does help him. But he could be another sleeper pick as well. He could be another sleeper pick as well to win the race. But either way, guys, I think this is one of the few wide open ARCA races just because it's new. This is a lot of new stuff for the ARCA series to go to Dover. Do I expect some cautions? Yes. Not calling it a shit show. I think we're just kind of in for an interesting race, so to say. I think we're definitely just gonna call it like that. It's gonna be an interesting race. But so that's my pick. I'm going with Carson Kvapil to win the race. Underdog pick is Brent Cruz. I think this is one of the few times where we do not see Gio or William. They'll be up there. We know they'll be competitive, but I don't see them winning. I just think last year, William really struggled, and Gio, this is his first time at Dover. So I think he goes in there about as green as everyone else. So I'm sure they've been on the simulator, but at the end of the day, Dover on the simulator versus Dover real on track, 2 different things. Whew. All right. Well, God, we've been here for 58 minutes, and we still got 16 people here. So God bless you all for staying with me this whole time. But that's pretty much all I got for you guys tonight. We reviewed Talladega, which in my opinion was a stinker. We reviewed Kern County, which was great. And we have previewed this weekend's race at Dover. I am very excited for it. And I hope you guys all tune into the race. Like I said, FS2 Friday, 4 p.m. Central Time, 5 p.m. Eastern for your time zones. And yeah, I hope to see you can, for anyone who watches this podcast later, put your picks down in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on the bell for notifications so you guys don't miss a podcast when I go live again. Whew, God, I'm so tired. It's been a long podcast. It's been a long day. I don't want to get into my day, but it's just been a long day. That's why I did this podcast and I wore my favorite Kiss shirt to make myself feel better. If anyone doesn't know, Kiss is my favorite band. And they always will be. So anyway, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Again, I think I've already said my ending credits. And we'll catch you all. I might do a show on Thursday. I might not. I might be on the Left Turn Cult channel talking about Talladega and all that. So not sure if we're going to be doing a second show this week. Just stay tuned. If I don't, I don't. If I do, I do. And hopefully you'll all be here. So we'll put it like that. But Anyway, guys, I'm getting out of here. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday nights. I hope the rest of your week goes well. And yeah, have a good one, guys. Colby Evans, Starting Park Car. Give you guys the goodbye salute, and I'm signing off. Goodbye.